Hello. Okay, so first of all, I have to share with you that this is my first video ever, that I posted anywhere. So I'm a little bit nervous and anxious, and I don't really know what I'm doing, so you'll have to forgive me if I say something dumb or, I don't know, whatever. You'll just have to bear with me. The first thing I want to say is I'm sorry for the shitty video quality. Since I don't usually make videos, I don't have like a special HD camera or whatever attached to my laptop. And then the second thing I want to say is that the couch behind me is covered in a bed sheet because I have a cat and I love her to death, and she's 12 years old. Her name is Foxy. She's the love of my life. And she scratches our couches, so we have to put these things on them. I just feel like I should explain that. She's sitting right next to me right now. I'm going to share my story. Okay, well, first of all, my name is Rojan, and I wanted to share my story because I have a seizure disorder, and it's not necessarily epilepsy because it's not something that happens regularly, like at a specific time, or for like a specific reason. So the doctors haven't figured out why I'm having seizures in the first place. And I am having seizures every day. So that's, I think, a really important part of my story is that it's happening every day. I recently had a record of 10 days seizure free, which is really exciting. And I celebrated by having a seizure on the 10th day. But no, sometimes I do have seizure-free days, and on those days I'm really happy, and I go over everything that I've eaten that day, everything that I did that day, like who I saw, what I was thinking, stuff like that, but nothing seems to come together. Like there's nothing in common that I can find that is like, oh, I ate a banana, that's why I had a seizure, or like I ate too much of this, or like I was thinking about this, which is really stressful, or something like that. But the only thing I do find is that when I get anxious or nervous, I have a seizure. So right now, like I'm anxious, or I'm kind of nervous right now, but I'm not gonna have a seizure because it's not that serious of a situation. But normally when I'm surrounded by a bunch of people that I don't know, and if it's a new situation, like if I put into a new environment, I start getting sweaty, my palms start getting sweaty, and then I start sweating, and I get all nervous, and then my heart beats faster, and then I have a seizure. But I'm working on it, and I will tell you guys about my anxiety because that is the main trigger. I do have other triggers though, like if there's a loud noise, or if something scares me, or if someone's yelling at me, especially, because that stresses me out a lot, that gives me a seizure too. So there's a number of different reasons as to why I would have. Oh, if I'm sleep deprived, also, that also definitely. Like 100%, like if I only sleep for like 4 hours, I will for sure have a seizure. And then also, for some reason, when I watch Family Feud, and I'm not even kidding, like if I watch an episode of Family Feud, I will have a seizure, and I don't know what it is. I think it's because I get like so into the show, and I just get so excited. Like, oh my god, is their response gonna be? Is they gonna win? Like, how many points are they gonna get? Like, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? It's stuff like that, and I just get like so into it that I have a seizure. And so, like, I'm not even kidding. Every single time I watch this show. So when I was at the hospital, they they made me watch an episode of Family Feud to trigger a seizure because they were videotaping me, so that they could see how my seizures work. So they made me watch an episode of Family Feud, and it worked, which I just think is so funny. And it also happened during the Olympics when I was watching the figure skating thing, or not thing, like competition. I got like really into it, and I really wanted this one person to win, and I got so excited that I had a seizure. So it's just like, it's pretty silly. But anyways, okay. So I'm gonna start my story. I actually wrote it on Facebook, and I wrote it pretty like in order and eloquently. So I'm just I'm gonna read off of that, so you'll see me. That's why I won't be looking at the camera exactly. But I'm going to read my story now. Okay, so this was on March 21st of 2017. I had my first seizure in January of 2017. So it's been a year and 3 months. Okay. Alright. So I was hospitalized for a total of 5 weeks. I have some temporary and some permanent memory loss. I am 22 years old. Now I'm 23. I don't know how many of you will read this or will actually care, so let me just say that this is for the sake of my sanity and for the betterment of society in regards to epilepsy or seizure disorders. I'm going to skip that part. Okay. On January 18th of this year, 2017, I had my first seizure. I have never had a seizure in my life, never hit my head on anything, never had anything that would cause a seizure. It was a full-blown tonic-clonic seizure. This is the kind of seizure where that most people are familiar with, where a person is totally convulsing and they lose consciousness. And you're like foaming at the mouth, and your eyes roll back, and you're not responding at all. And 911 is called, and everyone freaks out, naturally. But this isn't necessarily the definition of epilepsy. Epilepsy is when you have reoccurring seizures. So you could have one seizure, and then it doesn't mean you have epilepsy. Sometimes they just happen because, for whatever reason, you might be really stressed out or some random reason. Okay, so on this night, I was watching a movie with my mom, and I had my seizure, and nothing special was happening. We were just watching a movie. She called 911, and I went to the ER. They gave me anti-seizure meds. They gave me Keppra, and I'm going to say the name of the drugs for those of you who do have epilepsy or seizure disorders, just so you might be able to relate a little bit more. They gave me Keppra and sent me home. I came home, and after like 12 hours, I had another round of seizures. I had like 6 in a row. So then I went to urgent care. They gave me more medications. They gave me more Keppra, and they gave me, I think they gave me Vimpat here. I was sent to, I had more seizures. Okay, so then when I was in urgent care, I had more seizures. And I had like 10. And then they sent me to the ER at Scripps or Sharp or wherever it was. I don't really remember. And then at this ER, they still couldn't solve my seizures. I was still having seizures. I had like 15 at this point. So then they put me in an ambulance, and they sent me to the UCSD Health Center, where they finally stopped my seizures. And this is by no means I'm not trying to applaud the American healthcare system, because I think it is completely fucked up. And I have my own reasons, which I'll probably share in another video, but it's just the worst. So I was apparently admitted to the UCSD hospital for 3 weeks. once my family realized that my seizures were happening every single day, and it was like at this point I was having like 15 every single day, like 15 to 20 every single day. So I lost my memory. This part is really sad. So I started my seizures in January, and I don't remember anything since before, like, it was Halloween. So then from Halloween on, I don't remember anything that happened in the time period before my seizures in January. And then even before that, like, my memory is so hazy, and I just, like, my memory is just really bad. It's hard for me to remember things now. So it's pretty difficult to deal with that. So I was transferred in and out of the ICU from floor to floor of the super hospital, and I don't remember any of it except for the last 5 days of it. I don't remember the first seizure, thankfully, and I didn't remember my doctors, even though I saw them every single day, and I don't remember like 90% of the people who visited me in the hospital. It was really bad. Like, probably like, I don't know, like 50 people visited me, and I don't remember any of them. And then the doctors, at this point in my life, I've probably seen like 100 doctors. I'm not even kidding. But at this hospital specifically, I really didn't remember who my doctors were. And it's funny because they all ask me the same question, like every day they do their rounds, right? And so they'll ask me the same question. They're like, what's your name? When's your birthday? And then one time they asked me, they're like, who's the president? And I was like, ugh, it's Trump, isn't it? And so then when I woke up, I didn't remember who I was. So this is, excuse me, the drugs make me really tired. So when I woke up in the hospital, like the last 5 days, I didn't remember who I was. You can't even imagine what that feels like. I didn't understand what life was. I didn't understand, I didn't know the people around me. I had to have my friends tell me what I like to do. Was I funny? Was I a nice person? What kinds of foods did I like? I didn't remember that I had a boyfriend, which is really sad. And I thought some other guy was my boyfriend, which makes matters worse. I had to have my best friends show me pictures of us hanging out so I could remember what we did for fun. I didn't know what dabbing was. It's so stupid. Why would anyone make that a thing? And hashtags, what the fuck? And I still, like seriously, like, it's so funny. I was like, what is dabbing? What does a hashtag mean? Like, why is that popular? I don't remember the buildings at UCSD or the topics of the classes I was taking because I was enrolled at UCSD. I was 3 classes away from graduating. I'm still in that situation. The only thing I had an emotional connection to was my cat, Foxy, who I told you about earlier. I thought the whole time that my older brother, Arjang, was playing a prank on me and that this whole shit show was his prank. This is mostly because of the crazy powerful drugs they had me on at this point. So the reason that the seizures stopped was because they kept me on Keppra. They gave me Depakote, Vimpat, Omfi, Ativan, and phenobarbital. Nobody should ever be on that amount of drugs, ever. But phenobarbital is, don't ever let anybody put you on that drug. It is the worst hallucinogen. I thought that I was drowning, so I ripped out one of my IVs and I tried to escape the hospital room. And then over the course of being in the hospital, I ripped out 2 more IVs because I thought I was, like, I wanted to escape for whatever reason. And then I, like, hallucinated, like, how my uncle was gonna die. And I was like, I woke up and I was like, I know how you're gonna die. It's just ridiculous. So I think that the reason I thought that the whole thing was a prank was because, partly because of the drugs, and then also my brain would not accept the fact that this was happening to me. So when I left the hospital, I cried the whole way home because my brain was finally registering that this wasn't a prank and that this was real life. So in conclusion about the hospital, I had about 20 neurologists working on my case, like just my case. Since then, I've had probably 10 MRIs, I've had 4 spinal taps in total, I've had 3 CT scans, I've had like 10 EEGs, I've had like 1 million blood samples drawn, I have had like 20 IVs put in, and I'm still getting them because of my treatment. So I have physical scars, but more so emotional/mental ones. I am still not diagnosed, so they still don't know why I'm having seizures. They just randomly happened. They're like, sorry, we don't know. I'm like, okay, thanks. Thanks for nothing. And then I also have generalized anxiety. I've been admitted to the ER and to urgent care and to the hospital a bunch more times since I left the initial time. I even went to the Mayo Clinic like a couple weeks ago. The #1 hospital in the nation, highly respected, and I respect everybody who works there and everybody who worked on my case. They're amazing. They still couldn't figure it out. So I'm like a mystery to everybody, but anyways, so I had to relearn how to walk. I wasn't allowed to get out of my hospital bed when I was in the hospital that very first time. I didn't know how to walk. Like I got out of my bed. I was like, what is this? What are these like legs? I was still learning how to write again. My hands shake when I hold some things. I'm still having seizures every day, except for the few days when I don't. I get super happy. They're not as serious anymore though, so that's a good thing. The type of seizures that I have normally, they don't look like grand mal seizures, because grand mal seizures are the ones that are like tonic-clonic, the ones that are like really severe, and sometimes I do have those, but most of the time I have grand mal. All the time I'm having grand mal seizures, which is the definition of that is that the activity, the radical activity, is coming from all different parts of your brain. So that's why I'm saying I have grand mal seizures, but sometimes I don't have like the full-blown tonic-clonic ones. So those are the ones that I have every day. And then another type of seizure is called complex partial, which means that the neurotic activity is coming from one section of your brain, which is kind of what we were hoping for, because that meant that they could do surgery, but surgery is not an option for me anymore. Okay, so my license was taken away. I haven't driven in 15 months, which, imagine, as a 23-year-old, like, I didn't realize how independent I was because I had a car. I withdrew from UCSD. I I tried to take 2 classes a couple quarters ago. I failed one. I did learn how to play the piano though, so I'm getting better. But I'll talk about getting better later probably. I was getting used to reading and writing again. I couldn't really type that well initially, but I did. I kind of knew how to type still. And so I have a lot of people to thank, but I'll leave that to my post. And I don't want anyone saying, I'm sorry this happened to you, because you have nothing to be sorry for, and I've heard that so many times it makes me want to punch a wall, and I'm moving forward and being done, and I'm done with being sorry. Hold on one second.